And so we have 6 of our top athletes. It's narrated by our own. He's a group leader, I believe, and he's also a sports medicine physician. Dr. Doug Diorio is going to moderate, so let's go right to that video panel now.
Hi, my name is Doug Diorio. I'm a sports medicine physician in Columbus, Ohio. I've been involved in BEMER for about 3 years now. I have used BEMER personally. I also used it with many different types of athletes, from the weekend warrior, from the older guys like me trying to keep doing it, college athletes and professional athletes. I've had great success at all levels. One of the things I always harp on is performance and recovery. And this is what I've seen with my athletes more than anything else. They get better performance, they have better success on the field or on the court, and their recovery is faster so they can get back into the next workout. We are very lucky here today. We have a number of professional athletes here, and we get to see how they are using BEMER and how it's affecting their performance and recovery. First, we have Mike Weir here. He's a professional golfer. So Mike, you played golf for over 25 years, very successfully, Masters champion. You have had many tried and true things that you've done over your career for both performance and recovery. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, golf, most people don't think of golf as being so physically demanding, but it certainly is. You know, it takes its toll on your joints and connective tissue and ligaments and, you know, of course, your spine. You know, there's a lot of force on your spine and torque, and being a repetitive motion one way all the time, you know, that's, you know, you can get out of balance. So things I've done over the years, I've done tons of stretching, you know, lots of core stability, working out, you know, endurance is important too. So cardiovascular work, and recovery things. I've done anything from ice baths to, you know, infrared saunas, and, you know, massage. That's what I've done. And, you know, recently in the last few months, I've added BEMER to my protocol of recovery, rest and recovery.
Now that BEMER is part of your routine, how has that changed what you've done both for performance and recovery?
Yeah, quite a few things. I think the first thing, you know, as I've gotten on a routine with the BEMER is that my energy levels have really increased. So my ability to practice longer, and then come home and do it again after a long day of practicing and playing on the course, the recovery better, I sleep better. And then I've noticed in the morning when I do the BEMER before I get into my pre-round stretch and everything, I just feel looser. I already feel like I've kind of done a pre-stretch before I even get going. So my body already feels primed and ready to go before I kind of get into my pre-round stretch and warming up before I get out on the golf course. So notice quite a big difference.
Lesley, you are a 5-time off-road world champion triathlete, and you are the most endurance athlete we have on our panel today. Tell me how BEMER has affected your endurance and your ability to perform.
So when you're in the sport of triathlon doing 3 different sports and you're an endurance athlete, the volume of training is very, very high. So I'm training anywhere between 25 and 35 hours per week. So that's a lot of time, a lot of stress on the body. So how I use BEMER is, you know, largely for recovery, because to get that blood flow, you know, even better to get rid of all of those toxins, all of those waste products that come about from all of that training. What it does is it allows me to you know, do my training a lot harder on consecutive days. You know, my power output is higher because I'm able to stack up day upon day, hour upon hour of quality training, because my recovery is that much better.
Every sport has its culture from Little League on up, and triathlon has its own culture. How do you feel that BEMER should fit into the triathlon training world?
I just think that a lot of triathletes, the volume of training is very high, because we're participating in 3 different sports, and because of the types of personalities that get into triathlon are very A-type driven. So we get sort of obsessive compulsive, more is always better, and so you're always trying to manage that stress, the high cortisol levels in your system, balancing work, life stress, family, training. So what BEMER can do is just reduce that load on the body, that stress on the body, that cortisol, get that blood flow going so that, you know, athletes can recover and be able to continue to train and compete at the level that they want to without overly stressing and burdening their body time after time.
Ben, you've been part of the NFL for a long time. And how did you get introduced to BEMER? And what do you feel like it's helped you with your health and wellness?
When I first got to the 49ers, one of the strength conditioning coaches that works there kind of introduced me to BEMER and kind of told me what the possible benefits for it. And just, you know, being a guy ready to improve any way I could, I wanted to see if all the hype was true. And so I tried it out and absolutely loved it since day one.
We all know and see how the NFL works their athletes very hard, and you train consistently year round. How has BEMER affected your training?
I use the BEMER before practice to get me ready and just start getting ready to go. And then I also use it after for recovery. And I think the way I use the BEMER most is for recovery. And I think, especially in the NFL, it's a game of inches. And the person that can train the hardest and recover the most is the one that's going to be the most successful. So I think BEMER really gave me that advantage in being able to recover more than my opponents.
Mickey, you're an NCAA champion, a world champion, and you broke the 100-meter record in the Pan Am Games. You're obviously built for speed. What training aspects do you find more specific to speed training?
Well, yes, most of the training aspects I do for speed, we do a lot of power and explosive training. So I like to do a lot of short sprints, like 20s and 30-meter dashes, depending on what part of the season we're in. Because in the off season, we do a lot of longer sprinting. And then when the season comes, you taper it down to do a lot of specific short sprinting, like 20s and 30 meters, 60 meters, 80-meter dashes. And then the off season, we do like longer stuff like 400s and 300s and stuff. But most of the things I focus on is power and speed.
How do you see BEMER as part of your speed training?
Well, actually, I would say the BEMER has helped me recover faster, because since I use so much power, it's very taxing on the body. So I noticed that I can recover faster and I have more pop when I run since I've been using the BEMER. I'm not as tired as often. My body doesn't ache as much. A lot of times I had a lot of joint issues, and I noticed since using the BEMER, I just have way more energy. So I wouldn't say it's specifically for power, but it helps me overall.
Denise, you're the first and only woman to be the fastest cyclist on earth. What do you find essential for your training and preparation for this?
The multifold. Not only, obviously, there's a physical element of that, but there's basically the psychological element in preparation, which I actually did quite a bit with. And then there's all of the little, much like nutrients, you have macronutrients and micronutrients, and some of the little micronutrients, things that are just foundational but very small, a lot of people don't think about, are similar to the BEMER. You know, they're just things that you do every day that give you just that little bit of extra edge. So, and obviously nutrition is another element in the whole preparation.
You've had a long, successful NFL career. You're now the CEO of the Alumni Association for the NFL. You're an avid golfer. What advice would you give people who want to stay active and feel healthy?
Like with the NFL Alumni, we have a lot of health-related programs, and obviously we have a wonderful relationship with BEMER that a lot of players use in order to recover faster and to feel better.
So if you're out golfing with your friends and BEMER came up and you were discussing BEMER with them and they were contemplating, investing in getting a BEMER, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I mean, I've noticed a significant difference. It took me a little bit of time to really feel the difference in the subtle little things. It's not like a magic pill that you feel it right away. I think it's something you work into, and as you continue to use it, if you really pay attention, you'll really notice the difference. Like for me, it was like about a week after using it, I noticed that, hey, I am less sore. I am sleeping better. I am feeling more mobile. All these little subtle things, as I paid attention to them, I noticed some significant differences. And now that I'm a few months into it, it's really made a big difference. So my mobility, as a golfer, I've always been kind of tight through my thoracic area and winding into my backswing. And I just feel like my range of motion is a lot better. Like I said, kind of turning back the clock, I feel like I can wind as well as I could, 10 years ago. So that's really significant. So, when people ask me about it, yeah, I can speak honestly and truthfully and say, hey, this really works.
Tell me, what are the changes that you've noticed most from the BEMER?
For me, it's the recovery time. What I've noticed is, you come in after a round of golf or a good workout or a good walk, and those injuries, those old injuries, start to pop up. I had 2 knee operations. I broke my leg. I almost cracked my sternum. And I'm saying I did those things, but other guys did them to me. So these things, I had 2 back operations. I think I left that out. So I've got issues that need to be managed. And I find that BEMER has been the best help that I can find. So if my knee is hurting, and all my stuff isn't hurting at the same time. If my knee is hurting, I wrap the belt around my knee and I give it a couple of treatments and I recover faster. The next day, I can go out and perform whatever activity that stressed my knee in the first place. Particularly with my back, everyone knows what a strain golf can be on your back. That belt is always, I come in, I sit on in fact, the couch is right here. And so, just so you know, I'm telling the truth, the couch is right here. And I come right in after a round of golf or something like that. And I strap this baby on and I fire up a couple of programs, and the recovery for me is within hours. So I played about 12 holes last night between the hours of 6 and maybe 8:30 at night. And, woke up this morning with my shoulder and my neck a little stiff from the operations and the hitting back in the past. And I throw that belt on, and the next day I am 100%. Now, I know that sounds, that sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm telling you that if you do the other things that I talked about, and you use the technologies that the BEMER has available to you through the NFL Alumni, the knee it has been a frightening. I know so many guys that have had to have knee replacements. Sure. And I'm just telling you, the recovery that I receive from wrapping that belt around my knee and doing a couple of treatments is amazing.
Lesley, what changes have you noticed in both your performance and recovery with BEMER?
So I would notice the most probably is the stiffness in the morning when I wake up. So often I'm using the BEMER before I go to bed to make sure I sort of have a good blood flow after a hard day's work, to then go to sleep and wake up. And you know, certainly when I've been doing that protocol at night, I wake up in the morning less. I'd say that that's been a huge sign for me. And then what that allows me to do, or has allowed me to do, is then go out. I generally train very, very hard in the morning, a lot of interval work, a lot of high intensity. And if there's stiffness there, I just can't push down. I can't get the power out of the pedals. I can't get the power out of the ground when I'm running. I have an overall sort of inability to really push hard because of all of the collected inflammation. So with BEMER, that has reduced greatly. And as a consequence, I'm able to, you know, do a very, very hard workout, and then the next day do another very, very hard workout. And when you stack those hard workouts together, that's when you see the big improvement. So for instance, across a month, I've noticed a huge increase in my power output on the bike. We call it FTP, which is functional threshold power. So that has increased greatly while I've been in this last kind of intense phase. And then increase in speed while I'm running. So I've actually reduced my sort of interval times, my mile repeat times on the track, which has been very, very nice. Especially, you know, during this weird and wonderful COVID time. So I'm still getting all of those benefits. I'm able to see progression in my training, even although sort of the races, there's not many on this year.
We know that you're a BEMER believer and you use it. What changes have you noticed in your training with this?
Oh my gosh. Well, as far as a performance necessity and using the BEMER is, I am a firm believer in the benefits of circulation. If you think of anything when it comes to an athlete, it is about your circulation and the ability to recover, the ability to maximize the use of your muscles that you're doing all this training with. You know, so it's a daily routine for me, and it's just part of my everyday overall wellness. And but yeah, the preparation was definitely key, because when you get to a very high level athlete and you're really pushing your body and getting every little bit that you can out of it, you want to be able to maximize that very top end.
Absolutely. Mikele, you're training for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. How do you plan on using BEMER both here at home and when you travel for those competitions?
It's just easy to use. I love it because you can travel with it. You don't have to do anything, and you do feel the benefits. So a lot of people, or sometimes when I use it, I'm like, is it working? What is it? But then like later on in the day, I'm like, hey, I'm not in pain here. So it's so much beneficial for me because it's easy. I love it. That's what it is. It's easy, and I can take it anywhere now. That's why I was so excited when I have been using it, because I feel really good with it. And so now that when I will travel, I just think it's going to be a big addition for myself, and just to make sure that my overall health is great.
Ben, we all know and see how the NFL works their athletes very, very hard, and you train consistently year round. How has BEMER affected your training?
I use the BEMER before practice to get me ready and just start getting ready to go. And then I also use it after for recovery. And I think the way I use the BEMER most is for recovery. And I think, especially in the NFL, it's a game of inches. And the person that can train the hardest and recover the most is the one that's going to be the most successful. So I think BEMER really gave me that advantage in being able to recover more than my opponents.
Beasley, as the CEO of the NFL Alumni Association, you get lots of feedback from people who are using BEMER. What have you heard from individuals and what their success has been with it?
Well, I've received excellent feedback, nothing but excellent feedback. In fact, the first time I thought I was introducing the fellas to this new technology, talking about BEMER at a golf tournament. And a couple of guys were looking at me like, man, I've had a BEMER for 2 years. And another guy said, one guy, Ken Donick, was a tight end in the NFL. Mike Quick was a 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver. And Ken looked at me and said, man, I've had a BEMER for 2 years. You guys are just now finding out about the recovery and all of the positive impact of using BEMER. And then Mike Quick told me that he travels with it. He takes the console and the belt. He's the announcer for the Philadelphia Eagles. So when they go on road trips, inside of his carry bag is the console and the strap, the belt, and he actually. And so I started doing that immediately. I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that. So I work in the Philadelphia area. I'm back and forth to Texas, and I do a lot of traveling. So I travel with, you know, the minimal parts of my my BEMER just to get a treatment while I'm on the road. And I learned that from Mike Quick, and they had never said anything to me about the relief from BEMER. Now, those are two guys that I gamble on the golf course for money with all the time. So they were obviously withholding some valuable information that I found out about through the story I just shared. But if you are still, listen, I believe that the body quits when we do. You know, my body will quit when I do. It'll quit faster when I quit. So as long as I'm working out, stretching, finding every relief, you know, all of the smart technologies, and BEMER is number one. We have hundreds of former NFL players and active NFL players that use BEMER. And the reason is you want to recover. Even the guys that back in my day, the 80s and 90s, who used to cheat using steroids, the reason they cheated was because you recovered faster, you know, when you took in performance enhancing substances. And with BEMER, you don't have to cheat. You can actually recover faster and recover completely using this technology.
So working with other athletes, after they've started BEMER, they've noticed they've had to do less other things, such as stretching or massage therapy. Has that been true for you? Have you been able to change your routine with BEMER?
I'd say I have. Yeah, I think the you know, not doing as much of those other modalities has been nice. It's cut down some time. You know, as being you know, great thing about golf, you can still be active and chase your dreams as a professional on the Champions Tour. As I'm 50 years old now, and you know, not having to do so much time to warm up at my age now, and to cool down at the end of the day, which I used to have to do. You know, spending 45 minutes to an hour at the end of the day stretching normally. I've cut that in half. You know, now I only do a couple of stretches after you know, doing my 15-minute BEMER. So great. That's really you know, cut down the time management, allowed me to maybe enjoy dinner a little longer and not have to rush back to the hotel room to do all this long recovery work.
Is there anything that BEMER does that you say might be very specific to NFL players or football players in general, and how that can improve their performance?
I think football is such a brutal sport, and you're talking about the impact it does to your body, and you really need to be able to recover and get back to your top A game before the next game. I mean, it's such a short week between playing on Sunday and then possibly playing next Thursday game or playing another Sunday game. And so being able to recover quickly and take your damaged body and get it back to as much as prime state as you can is premium in this game. And so I think the BEMER's really helped me in that way of just being able to recover more, recover faster, and be prepared for each and every practice.
Ben, you had a great year last year with the 49ers, going all the way to the Super Bowl. You know, when the season lasts that long, there's a lot of wear and tear in the body. Did you use the BEMER differently as the season went on, as you were preparing for the final games of the season?
Yeah, we did. We brought it. I mean, I even took my own personal BEMER, and I got the battery in it. And I brought it on the plane, used it on the plane on the way over, used it in the hotel. And I know a bunch of guys did. I know Juice did, and Fred, and a bunch of the guys at the hotel, kind of after practice and before practice, we're using it to recover and get ready. And we definitely used it the entire week leading up to the game.
Denise, how do you implement BEMER in your daily routine?
When I set my goal for the land speed record, that became my primary priority. I have children that are older, that luckily they're not little kids. But at the beginning, the very first part of this, my youngest was 12 when the idea was hatched. So the priorities, you know, you decide on what you want to do, and that's where you give a lot of your effort. It doesn't, and other things are going to have a little bit of give and take here and there. But I think the biggest thing is the setting of the goal, and you stay true to that goal, and that's your primary focus. And I still use that BEMER each and every day because it's for my overall daily wellness.
Now that BEMER is part of your routine, what have you changed as part of your workout? And also, what results have you noticed about your well-being and your performance?
Last week, I played my first Champions Tour event in Michigan. And I couldn't believe how good my energy was. I felt like, you know, I really felt like I was back in my prime.
BEMER has been contacted by a number of players from the 49ers. Can we thank you for spreading the word for the team?
Absolutely. I've been telling everybody about it, and I just know how much it's helped my game and helped me improve. I mean, this is one of those rare years where I actually felt better at the end of the season than I did at the beginning, and that never happens in football. So, especially to my teammates or anybody I knew that or cared about, I was telling them, you got to check out this product and try it, because I know it's going to improve your game like it improved mine. Even told my dad to get one, because I know he's a water polo player, and I know it can help his game as well.
You have a very unique background, going to the Air Force Academy and now being a captain for the Air National Guard. Do you think BEMER could have some use in the military?
I think BEMER would really help military personnel. I mean, you talk about the military is also such a brutal lifestyle where it's extremely challenging and extremely demanding on the troops. And I think that would really help a lot of the guys that I work with directly, and especially a lot of the special forces guys who go put their body through so much torment and trouble to be the best in the world that they are. And I think it would really help a lot of guys out there.
Denise, in your opinion, should every athlete invest in a BEMER?
Absolutely. Whether it's an athlete or whether it's, you know, anybody else, it's just, it's like taking a vitamin in a sense. It's something you want to do every day, not just during certain times of your life.